And we're back with Kevin O'Leary, who's just launched his own wine brand, he of the Dragon's Den fame. Kevin, what was the process in terms of developing the wines themselves? Did you taste a lot of different blends? How did you get to the point of these are the two wines we're going to launch?
Well, my wife Linda is on her way to becoming a sommelier, so she's very interested in wines, and she worked with Brian and Alan and Alex, who runs O'Leary Ventures, when we were developing this we went through a whole series of tastings and blends, and we had a lot of fun doing it, because what I'd like to do is host a dinner at one of my favorite restaurants. Let's try a bunch of wines. Let's try some of the competitive wines. Let's try some wines that I've loved for years, the Montrachets I brought over from France, the Fondants from Switzerland, and we just tried together to come to that one place where we knew we had it. So it was a tremendous amount of fun. There's nothing more fun than doing this. I have a lot of different business ventures, but this is the one I'm having the most fun with. And so we blended it basically until we got it nailed. And then we waited a week and tried it again. You know, you want to give some time between the first tasting, the second, make sure you've got it right. Then what I did is I took down a bunch of test bottles down to Cape Cod, where people love to drink Montrachets with their lobsters on hot summer days. In the middle of August, I hosted a lobster bake and a lobster steam right on the beach. Had about 30 people there, brought a couple of cases of the white, brought some Californians also, took the labels off them, did a blind taste test in a very, very competitive market, because those people in Cape Cod, those Americans, love their Oaky Shards, love their unoaked Shards, love their French Montrachets. We had them all there. I couldn't believe how well received the white was. They loved it, and I knew I was onto something.
That's quite the focus group technique. You'll have to do that something similar with the Cabernet.
I had a lot of fun eating the lobster.
Good for you. So if you were pitching your idea for these wines on Dragon's Den, what would be the toughest question you'd have to answer?
You know, what I'd want to know if it was me pitching and I was going to investors and saying, look, I need money to launch this. What's your marketing strategy? What's your production and logistics strategy? What's the next level? In other words, you're just starting with two wines. Where are you going to go? Where's this business going to be in 5 years? Those are the right questions to ask. But above all, how can you guarantee the quality? Because in wine, this is a living, growing thing. You've got to get it right. You can't do this, bring out a wine, in the case of our Reds, win awards, and then not deliver on quality. You've got to make sure every year you're in, you're out. You're doing the best job you can with whatever the sun gives you each year.
And so what would be your answer then? What is the next level for you with
Well,
these
what
two
we're going to
wines?
do, Natalie, with these two wines is spend all of 2013 making them ubiquitous in Canada. In other words, wherever you go in a fine restaurant or whatever province you're in, you're going to find these two O'Leary wines. That's goal number one. Number two is I'm already working on the next two, because I've got partners like the LCBO. We're talking about our marketing strategy a year ahead of time. I've got two great ideas for the next. I won't tell you what they are yet, because I'm still testing, I'm still trying, and I'm still blending, but you know they're going to be great, because my promise to consumers that buy my wine is this. Listen, it has my name on it, I drink it, and it's really, really good.
You remind me of Orville Redenbacher or something, the wine version. Some would say now celebrity wines are derivative, even a disservice, takes the focus off the region and on to the celebrity. What do you say to that?
That's a load of crap, Natalie. I love wine. I love wine. I would never, ever, ever market a wine with my name on it that wasn't fantastic. It's that simple. I haven't served these wines to anybody yet that said, I can't stand this, is terrible. They love them. And maybe they're just saying that to my face, but what I've learned is they go and buy it again. Sales have been very, very strong. And I go into restaurants and say, look, I want to order my O'Leary white. Do you have it? And they say, no, we don't have it yet. And I say, I won't be back till you do. So I'm really pushing my wines wherever I go. I'm a marketeer, I'm a salesman, and I love wine.
Okay. Now, your fellow dragon has also launched a brand, as you know, wine brand, Arlene Dickinson, Persuasion. What do you think of her wine?
Look, I've tried Persuasion. It's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it. But, you know, we're competitors on Dragon's Den, and we're competitors in the wine business. I'm going to outsell her 10 to 1. I love Arlene. She flies into the office on a broom every day.
This is recorded. I don't think you care, though. But what, you know, she went with California. What do you think of that?
Well, I know she loves California cabs, and I like them too. There's no question about it. And, you know, she obviously wants to develop premium brands with her name. Nothing wrong with that. But the distribution challenge of bringing a Californian into Canada is, can you get a permanent listing? Can you get permanent distribution? I'm not saying you can't. I just think the job's a lot harder. But there's nothing wrong with her wine. It's excellent. And she knows wine. I've sat down with her many nights, and we've piled through some fantastic California cabs. She knows them very, very well, and she knows what she likes.
Okay. And so before we jump into tasting, what's the cold hard truth for the Ontario wine industry? What has to change? What do they have to do?
The biggest challenge we have in this province is the perception of our own market that California wines are not excellent quality. What happened 20 years ago was the industry did a massive disservice to itself by bringing out poor wines. People don't forget. You think of all those Labrusca grapes, all that terrible stuff that gave everybody so many headaches. That's not forgotten. So slowly but surely, we've got to bring them into the modern age of great, great wines in Ontario. I'm part of that process. There's certainly many other vintners here in Ontario. They're doing a fantastic job bringing their wines to market. The VQA nomenclature gives you a quality experience every time. I think all of this is important, but the biggest challenge you ask anybody making wine in Ontario is the perception of the buyer in Ontario. And I'm hoping as we speak right now, we're fixing that problem.
You never know. All right, so you've got both your wines. I've got the Cabernet Merlot, although I have tasted the unoaked Chardonnay before. So why don't you tell me a bit about the Chardonnay? We've already mentioned it's unoaked, it's more food friendly.
While we're talking about it, let me actually put some in this glass, because the best way to talk about a wine is when it's on your lips. There's no question about it.
I'll pour the Cabernet.
But you know what? The first thing, of course, is just to experience that. Bring it in through the nose and onto the tongue, back the way I like to do it. With a white, you want to see what is it offering. And most people think when they pour a beautifully golden Chard like this, they're waiting for that big blast of heavy, buttery oak. That's not the experience you're going to get here. You're getting a minerally crisp, almost commercial about what you're about to experience. You know this wine is going to have something fresh and exciting, I think. And that's what we tried to do with its nose. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, oh, Natalie, that is nectar from the nipple of Aphrodite. There's no question about it.
Well, there's a tasting note for you. So it goes with...
You put this white against anything out there, absolutely anything. I would put this up against an $80 bottle of Montrachet and say this is as good. And it's perfect with so many different foods. This is why it's so popular now. I think it just is... This summer, it was all I served at the dock up in Muskoka. People loved it. I have to have another sip now. It's just getting thinking about the summer all over again.
Okay, you have a moment there with that Chardonnay. When I reviewed it, I thought it was excellent value, actually. I gave it, I think it was an 88 out of 100, which is a pretty high score for that price category. But lobster, what else? Seafood, what else would you pair with this wine?
That's what's interesting. It goes even with a brunch. We had a brunch on Sunday with a bunch of people that came up, business associates of mine. I served it at the table with everybody having omelets, you know, and they loved it. This is a very classic French way. Fresh vegetables, omelets. There was even some people there eating smoked salmon. I think it's fantastic with fish. Someone there even was having a beef dish at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and was drinking Chard with it. I'll tell you something else which really surprised me this summer, Natalie. I don't know if this trend has made its way over from Saint-Tropez, but people there take their rosés and put ice in it during the lunch hour. And I noticed up at the lake this year, many people were taking this O'Leary unoaked Chard, throwing ice into it almost, which to me would have been 10 years ago, insane, but really enjoying it. So it was finding its way into almost like a spritzer-like environment. And they were going through half a bottle full of ice. It's not for me, but I watched many people do it and absolutely love it. So I think people are experimenting with their whites, making it a very casual beverage in the summer, and continue to drink it in the fall and in the winter as well. So I think this goes well with even chicken. I haven't found a food this isn't great with.
Awesome. Okay, so, but, okay, $14.95. What's with the cork, not a screw cap?
You know, when I was doing my marketing and testing people's perceptions here in Ontario, because I spent a fair amount of time and money on this, I'm still amazed, even though there's nothing wrong with the screw cap technology at all. In fact, in some ways, it's better than cork. You know that. You've done your due diligence. there's still a negative perception about a screw cap, particularly when the price point is under $19.99. I decided, because I was just launching the wine, to avoid that problem. I'm not saying I won't go to screw caps in the future, but on this launch, I went with cork. Plus, I can brand the cork. I can put my name on it. It becomes part of the experience of opening the wine. You know, these are some of the things you start thinking about when you're designing a label and what the cap looks like and all of that. So I decided to make the whole experience something people were anticipating with a higher quality, higher priced wine, and I left the cork in as part of the marketing.
Okay, fair enough. Let us taste the Cabernet Merlot.
Absolutely.
You've got that one there too.
Far more complex tasting. There's no question about it. Now, many people, you know, have misperceptions about Cabernet Franc, because this is a blend: Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Cabernet Sauv. These are all great wines, a classic Bordeaux blend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just wonderful. You know, the great thing about this, Natalie, it has the same nose that it did a year ago when I started blending it. It just still has. This is why the quality and consistency in partnering with guys like Vineland really matter. You've got to get it right every time, shall we?
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, I must say that is great, especially for the price point. Really.
That comes from Aphrodite's other breast.
Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, this is a great deal for $14.95. Come on, you have to admit. You taste thousands of wines. This has to be up there. What did you score this one?
90. Looking for a testimonial.
Yeah, that's good.
I did think it was great. Like I tasted it blind to start off with a lineup of other Cabernets, and that's how it netted out there. Not that I let price influence scores, but yeah, no, it's great quality, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that, and it's been recognized. I mean, you know, we had no idea it would happen so quickly, but we submitted it to many different international contests where up to 1,700 wines were tasted. In some cases, it was the only Canadian awarded anything. I'm really, really proud of this, because red is the baseline of any wine brand. There's no question about it. And to really celebrate something grown well, you just think over the last 20 years, or the last 2 decades, where we've come from. From Labrusca grapes to this delicate, beautiful Cabernet Franc, which is so enticing. It can compete anywhere in the world, and it's winning all around the world. So it's not just the Chileans or the Australians or the Californians or anything from France. We can hold our own in Ontario, and that's the message I want to get out. It's not just about O'Leary wines. I want Ontario to win with this, and that's what I'm so proud of.
Absolutely. I think that is the approach that the whole industry does have to take. The rising tide will lift all the ships. They need that, you know, that mass working together, to the critical mass to achieve some sort of brand recognition as a region.
I'm a big ambassador of this wine now. I take a bottle of red with me when I travel to Europe.
Okay.
I was recently over there, and I brought it to a dinner in Switzerland, in Geneva, and I didn't tell them it was from Ontario. They loved it. They couldn't believe it. That's the response I get everywhere. They just say, wow, this isn't French? No, it's from Ontario, Canada. You know, it's just, there used to be a comic who sang a song that started with, the champagne was Canadian. It used to be a joke. Now we can bring great vintages to the world.
That's terrific. Well, thank you, Kevin, for chatting with me about this. I think it's an interesting business case and what you've done with the 2 wines, and I'm looking forward to see where you go next, because I think you have some innovative strategies that indeed will help the wine industry. So I wish you all the best with it.
Let's stay in touch and talk often. You'll be amazed at what's coming next. Thank you, Natalie.
All right. Cheers.